Hi, everybody, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Happy Sunday to you. So in this video,
Y'all, we just got into it at the restaurant because I asked him, tell me something about your last name that makes your last name worth passing on. Like, I want to hear about the lineage. I'm walking by myself in the parking lot. The good day canceled.
yeah. If this was the conversation that was being had, something led up to the conversation, and your immediate response is to walk on or walk away from me. That tells me everything. I'm sorry. That says a lot. That says a lot. I mean, you could have easily said, oh, nobody has asked me a question like this before. I don't understand what you're saying. Can you elaborate even more? Or do you know what? This is kind of deep. I would have to sit down and think about it so I can give you a proper response instead of walking away. Someone in the comment section said something in the lines of, that is the legacy. That is the legacy. Somebody also mentioned that men ask women what they bring to the table all the time. So this is an equivalent to that question. Okay. So if you want me to let go of my last name, take on your last name, and you want a legacy or lineage or whatever they like to call it, then tell me why it is worth carrying your last name. These are the same men who will tell you to choose better, right? Because that's all she's doing, right? She needs to know more about you and your background and so on and so forth. So is she not choosing better or trying to choose better? Is she not asking the right questions? Let me know your thought. Do you find it disrespectful? Because I didn't. I get it. Okay. I understand why she will ask a question like that. So if you're having that kind of a conversation, why would you get so angry and walk off? But anyway, let's get into what other people have to say and leave your thoughts about this in the comments.
So I was just looking at this video, and it looks like this woman is on a date with a man. And she is explaining in the video that she asked him, tell me something about your last name that makes it worth passing on. Like, what is it about your name that's special enough for it to be passed on? And I guess he got up and walked away from her and pretty much left her and he got mad. But my thing is, I don't think she's wrong for asking that. And I think more people need to be asking this question. What do y'all think? Because to me, men ask for priceless things. Your life, your body, a child. Men ask for priceless things and want to turn around and try to put a price on it. You can't.
She asked that man, what about your last name is worth passing down? Like, tell me about your lineage. And he left her at the dinner table. Imagine my surprise when I open up the comments and I see people saying, girl, I would have left you there too. That's a crazy question. That's a crazy question. Are y'all insane? If they were already talking about children in any capacity, that is a very valid question. Because when you ask men why they want children or why they want to be a father, 9 times out of 10, they be like, oh, I want to pass down my legacy. They all say that same thing. We don't live in a time anymore where your firstborn son is going to become king. So she's asking him, like, what is it that we're passing down? And he got upset because the question is thought-provoking, and men get defensive about this question because they don't have anything to pass down. Y'all don't have so much as a life insurance policy that would insure your kids some money if you pass away. So even if you don't have a father in your life, or you don't have a lot of things in your family that are worth being passed down, then you should have just said it starts with you. I'm breaking the generational curses. I'm breaking the generational trauma. I am college educated. I have learned about life insurance policies. And when my child turned 18, I've got real estate and things like that, things that can go into their name when they become of age. But this is the thing, when we're talking about having children, which is a very serious subject that y'all try to act like it's not, that's a very serious subject. So we need to be talking about serious things when it comes to these kids. You want to have 3 sons to what? Try to get a lottery draft pick to go to the NFL and get us rich? No, let's already have something going on before the kids get here. What we got going on? Y'all be depending on y'all kids too much to try to live through them. No, you live life. You do something. What you got going on?
You know, I really hate when y'all make me side with men. I really do. Some of y'all lack social skills. You don't have tact. You think decorum is just a funny phrase that we use on the internet. And quite frankly, you're on the internet way too much, and you allow online discourse and mannerisms to bleed into your everyday life and conversations. As a grown adult that is dating, you are supposed to have self-awareness and discernment. Knowing who you are, knowing what you want, being able to recognize when a person is exhibiting traits that align with what you want and the life that you see for yourself. And a lot of y'all do not have that. I do not blame that young man for getting up from that table when that young lady asked him what about his last name is worth passing on. Because I wouldn't have blamed her for getting up and walking away or blocking that man at any point if he asked her, what do you bring to the table? Why should I take you out on a date or take you seriously? Why should I marry you? Those questions are inherently disrespectful because they have an undertone and an implication of a lack of worth. We are talking about two people that were relatively strangers that went on a date to get to know each other. It's like we're in this weird space where everyone is like really desperate for commitment and healthy connection. But at the same time, y'all are approaching dating with a complete lack of openness, genuineness, willfulness, vulnerability. Y'all are trying to jump over all of that and treat dating like a Henry Ford assembly line, asking or playing a game of 21 rude, invasive ass questions, thinking it's going to be some, ha, gotcha, I'm going to get to the real them. That man could have sat at that table and said anything. And it all could have been lies. And then what? You didn't know no more about that man than what you did before you asked that question. And now he has said all this BS to draw you in. When you could have just asked him simple questions during conversation to get to know him. Like a regular date. That will literally tell you everything you need to know every time. You just have to listen and be willing to walk away if it's not what you want.
Do y'all realise how unhinged it is that women have to change every document they have after they get married and men have to do absolutely nothing? It's so normalised, I think we've forgotten how much of a big deal it is. You're changing something you've had for decades. Your name, you're changing your whole name. I'm not shaming people who do. I understand some people aren't attached to the surname, or they don't like it, or they hate their dad. Completely fine. Or they love their husband so much they want to do, yeah. The men are so upset in the replies. They're saying, if you don't want to change your name, don't get married. If you don't want to do things for your husband, don't get married. But if I were to say, if you can't provide, don't get married, I'm the bad guy. If you need your wife to go 50-50 with you, don't get married, I would be the bad guy. All of a sudden they'll be, times have changed. Oh. They've changed, have they? They've changed, but just for you, not for us. I implore you guys to think harder before changing your name. It's a big deal. And if anyone's trying to make it seem like it's their right for you to change your name, maybe investigate whether you want to be with them. It's a weird thing to get angry about. A woman in the replies to that tweet said that her friend wanted to hyphenate her surname with her husband's name because she only had one brother and he died, so no one was there to carry on the surname. So she wanted to have a bit of it. He was livid, and she ended up not even keeping the surname as a middle name. You don't want someone like that in your life.
For one, that's not no regular question at all. If somebody asks you something like that, that's like they check in to see what your character is really, really like. Like, that's not no regular question, like I said. To me, she basically asking you, like, what do you stand for? Like, if I attach myself to you, what am I carrying type shit, if that makes sense. But a lot of people don't understand what your last name means. Like, some people just, oh, that's just my name. That's just, I put it on a piece of paper or on driver license, thing like that. But no, like, that's real deal, your brand. Nobody's calling their brand Jasmine Corporations. No, they doing their last name, Williams Enterprise, stuff like that. So basically, what I'm thinking, like, if he walked away, stormed out like how he did, it's basically he hasn't really thought much about his legacy or what legacy he's had or was born into or what legacy he can create, basically.
She asked that man, what about your last name is worth passing down? Like, tell me about your lineage. And he left her at the dinner table. Imagine my surprise when I open up the comments and I see people saying, girl, I would have left you there too. That's a crazy question. That's a crazy question. Are y'all insane?
This is my opinion. I just feel like if you don't want to give a child their father's last name, you shouldn't be having no kids with them. However, I just feel like people take having kids a little too lightly. That's just me. Also, we gotta stop having these questions. You know, the last name, what do you bring to the table? Nah, the most important question you need to ask is about that credit score. Yeah, you ask about that credit score, then you gotta look at it as like you trying to get a house or build a house. You can't get past nothing without knowing your budget. The planning and financing. Look at that credit. I'm talking about, we worried about passing on the last name. If that credit ain't right, the name means nothing to you. You can't even get nothing in your name. Imagine having a child with somebody that can't get nothing in their name unless they got a cosign. But the child got the mama last name, but the daddy name trash. He can't get none in his name, and if he do, he gotta pay a hefty ass deposit. Look, we gotta start talking about them finances first. Once you get that credit understood, then you can move on from there. What's the point of planning and trying to build for something you don't even know what your budget is? Or you trying to plan and build something, you find out that you can't even get a budget because the name bad.
This lady went on a date and asked the man, what about your last name is worth passing on? And the date ended there. And let me explain to y'all why that question's in terrible faith. Y'all understand the downfalls of white supremacy and capitalism when you explain to a white person why it's been so hard for black families to progress, but you don't understand those concepts in dating? Racial discrimination, mass incarceration, poor quality education, which leads to less opportunities for black people, and so on and so forth. All these things have been going on since the ending of slavery. He's a descendant of slaves, and yet you fixed your mouth to ask that question. This question only works in two ways. If either A, he's not an African American, meaning he's not a descendant of slaves, or you were asking him what is he doing to ensure that he's accomplished before he dies, and not what did his mom and dad do or what his grandparents did. And that's the way that the question is being perceived right now. So the question is in terrible faith. The same dating standards as white people. They ruined that for us on purpose.
Your last name worth passing on.
I ain't gonna lie. When I first saw that video, I was like, who do you think she is? You feel what I'm saying? Like, what you mean what makes it worth? You know, I think we look at things from I gotta work on my truck. I think we look at things from a personal perspective, and me as a man, me particularly, I don't think anything about my last name makes it special. I don't think anything makes it worth anything because of the fact that the man who I'm named after my grandmother. I don't even have my grandfather's last name, but as far as my that tells you a lot about the kind of man that he was. He was a great man, but he was also a Rolling Stone. Also, so was my biological father. He was and still is a Rolling Stone. You know, he just found a woman that puts up with his rolliness. But so being from a bloodline of men who pretty much ain't shit, I've never valued my name anyway. Not to mention I'm a junior, so I'm named after somebody I don't even have a relationship with, and it's very odd. But so for me, when you come to me and be like, you know, what's your last name worth? It ain't worth nothing. But B as a man, I'm worth a lot. You know, I think I broke a lot of generational curses. I think that I'm making a good life for myself and my kids and my wife. I think that it is. I always thought that a woman looked at a man in a way as far as him as his person, because you can't judge a man off his family, because I feel like I'm not part of a legacy. I'm building a legacy. I have nothing before me. My family has nothing to pass down. My family hasn't made nothing of their lives. They've done nothing, you know. So I feel like everything that I've accomplished is because I want it. It's because I'm going after it. So, I mean, I feel like that question is a real question coming from a woman's standpoint, because here in American history, I don't know where you're watching this from, but here in America, it's like the woman always takes the man's last name. You know, it's very rare you see the man take the woman's last name, though it does happen. And I feel like, honestly, I don't want my wife to have a hyphenated last name. I think that's a bit odd. Like my mother, she has a hyphenated last name, which is weird because it's not her maiden last name. Her hyphenated last name is my biological dad's last name and my stepdad's last name. I think that's all the way disrespectful. Like, hell no. But anyway, not my business. I don't have a relationship there either. But no, I think it's a valid question. I think it's going to stump a lot of men, especially a lot of black men, because of the fact that before us, it wasn't much. You know, we don't really have that guidance sometimes. You know, it's like I don't want to say stereotype, but a stereotype. You know, our people went through a lot in the 90s and 80s and things like that. So our fathers were a bit different. So if you had a good one, you had a good one. But, you know, a lot of them weren't the best. but not by just off them, but based off, the world they're brought up in. So I think right now, I'm 34. I feel like our generation is the one that needs to be breaking everything, changing everything, and making that growth. So I think my last name is nothing. I don't think it's anything, but I'm making it something. I'm building it to something, like it's gonna stand for something, So not only that, but just me as a man, I think it's a good question. Once I got thinking about it, before I was like, I would have left your ass in that parking lot too. But now, when you really think about it and sit down and see it from a woman's point of view, like I'm taking on that last name. I'm gonna walk with you for the rest of your life. Like I'm taking that on with you. Like I think it's a valid question. I just think it's a question that you never asked. But anyway, that's my take. I'll stand with her in a way.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love smart men. Men who can control their emotions. Men who love to be asked questions. Do you understand? And even if they don't get it, they will go sleep on it and come back with a response. I like men who don't immediately go to anger to fix everything. Like every issue that you have, they'll try to gaslight you or manipulate you with anger. Like you just made them so angry. Like, how dare you ask me a question like that? You're a woman. You're not supposed to be asking a question like that. I'm a man. I'm supposed to lead and and so on and so forth. And, it gets to a point you need a little bit of like maturity to deal with certain situations. To be honest, I don't see anything wrong with it. Where I'm from, growing up, I have seen people do this before getting married. Like when a man is going to get married to a woman and vice versa, they send people into the family to find out more about their family, or so let's say you go out there, you meet a man, you meet a woman that you are interested in and you want to get married to, they will send people into the family. They even have a saying that, if you're going into marriage, ask, meaning ask about their background. And they ask questions about like their education. Are they, women beaters? Are they polygamous? Do they take care of the women in their families? Is there any disease? Do they, like, what makes them them? What are you marrying into? So those questions are very, very important. These days, as the modern generation, we don't do those things anymore. But back then, they used to do that a lot. That's what I'm saying. It's not surprising that she's asking that question. It doesn't surprise me. Like, what is it about you? Because if you're going to be the leader, right, I should know more about who I'm going to allow to lead me and whoever I bring into this world, right? And you take offense to it, that says a lot. It's either you didn't get the question to which you could have asked her to elaborate so that you will continue having that same conversation. If you want something different, you might as well ask the questions. It's not just having babies or putting babies in the world. Like he said, the people before him with that last name, they didn't do much, but he's taking it upon himself to better that last name. Okay, so that when people say, this is my name, they are proud to say, this is my name. And I like that these days we are seeing a lot of sensible men taking up the cameras and making videos. And I love that. I love that there are so many sensible men with sense. They have sense inside our coconut. They can think. They put their ego aside, put the anger aside, put their frustration aside, and dissect certain situations. Think about it critically, before coming out with a response. Unlike, what we usually are accustomed to, which are men. They don't want to be questioned. It's a man's world, just let him lead. You don't question a man and so on and so forth. As children, like when an adult says something, even if they are saying something stupid, you're not supposed to question it. You're supposed to go along because they're an adult. And we saw so many stupid adults do stupid things, but you can't say anything because you're a child. The moment you say something about it, you are boxed as a disrespectful child. And those things must stop. If you're going to go into a marriage, a relationship, we should be able to talk about certain things without you just getting up and walking off. But hey, like you said, that's just my opinion too. Leave yours in the comments and I'll see you again in another one. Take care of yourselves and one another. Bye.